Welcome back into the Sports Source, this segment of our show, brought to you by Safety Systems. When you hear that name, you probably think of security systems, and trust me, they can do that. Top-notch systems to protect your home or business, stuff that you can control with your smartphone, watch it from afar online, watch your house, turn lights on and off. It's incredible. But they're also the leader in the area in home theater systems. Give them a call this week. Ask them about their Sports Source Summer Special, Safety Systems. Give them a call this week. Check them out online, Safety Systems. All right, let's go over to the Safety Systems drawing board where Chuck Cavaleris stands and mugs for the camera. We have 5 stances that were made at the SEC meetings this week. I'm going to start with number 1 over there, SEC against football early signing period. What that means is, Josh, once again, the coaches kind of want an early signing period, but the top brass at the SEC not in favor of such a thing. You cover recruiting. Would it help? Would you be in favor of an early signing period for football, first of all? Second of all, is it good or bad for Tennessee that this did not go through, that there is no early signing period?
I would initially be in favor of an early signing period. It's funny to me that in basketball we have an early signing period in November when the sport doesn't finish its season until the spring, but football can't get it put into place at the end of the season. It would just be earlier than February. But I think a problem would be that if they had an early signing period in football, you would then have coaches leave, and you would have a lot of problems that would come up with kids wanting to get out. And in a perfect world, that would be handled properly. I'm not sure that it would be in college football. As for Tennessee, I think it's better for Tennessee to have the signing period just start in February. And I say that because while Tennessee does recruit a lot in state, they have to go to Nashville, they have to go to Memphis, then they have to go outside the state. A kid like Drew Richmond, he might be at Ole Miss right now if you had an early signing period. I think he signs with Ole Miss if he's able to sign earlier. So for Tennessee, I think it's good that it did not pass.
Agreed. All right, we got to put a check over there, Mr. Chuck. Number 2 question. All right, we got SEC puts no cap or average on full cost stipends. John Wilkerson, I think a lot of the school, Tennessee's going to be able to give more money, more than $5,000 a year to its athletes. There are other schools in the conference who are giving $3,000. So Tennessee gets a bonus there if kids are looking at making their decision based on a couple of grand. Was the SEC wise not to try and come in and find a happy medium where everybody in the conference gives the same thing? As it stands, it's up to the school. The SEC's making them be very transparent in how they arrive at these numbers, but they've let the schools do their own thing. Is that a good or bad move?
I think it's the right move, simply for the fact that there is a formula in place. It's one that you can manage and you can explore. You can see what your cost is, and you can see what other schools' cost should be. Granted, everybody's going to find that gray area in the rule book where they might give it a boost here or a little shuffle here. But I just think that as long as there is transparency, everything's going to be okay. I was a little surprised, like you, that they didn't come in with some sort of cap simply for the ones that were banging their shoes on the table saying we got to have an even landscape.
Yeah, Khrushchev, always banging that shoe. All right. Number 3, Vince. We've got the NCAA. If the NCAA doesn't ban satellite camps, the SEC will start taking part in them. The SEC does not like coaches coming down into the South and opening up, taking part in camps all over the SEC states. Currently, Southeastern Conference coaches can't do anything outside of a 50-mile radius in terms of camps. They said that they're going to push for the NCAA to make a change and ban these things. And if the NCAA doesn't do it, then the SEC is going to dive in hard, and you're going to see SEC coaches going to camps all over the country. Do you like the SEC stance?
I do, considering the fact that the NCAA likely won't ban this in around college football. The biggest advantage is for other conferences coming into their recruiting territory. And so the SEC now is going to do it, and they're going to do it bigger and better than any other conference is doing it right now. I also think that they're going to go into other SEC territories, and that's going to be even more competition against those teams that they're normally working with. But I think this benefits Tennessee more than anyone in the SEC. No one recruits the country more than Tennessee. And I think Tennessee will take advantage and go to camps in California and around the country. And I think it'll be positive for Tennessee.
I personally, because it leads to so much mush. It's just there's a lot of bad that can come with this thing. It's one more headache. I personally hope the NCAA does ban it all.
Yeah.
But if they don't, it's interesting. You think Tennessee's the one that stands to benefit the most. All right, number 4, Chuck Cavaleris over there. SEC to use medical observers at football games. They have decided, like the NFL, that they're going to use independent medical observers. The independent observer has nothing to do with any of the schools playing the football game. He sits in the booth, and if he sees a guy that took a helmet-to-helmet hit that looks like he's concussed at all, he can stop the play. He can stop the game and get that kid medical attention or have him looked at, tested for a concussion. Chuck, do you like that?
Well, John, I almost put quotations around independent, especially the way you said it. I wonder about that. You know, they try and do that with their officiating staffs. They're supposed to have no ties to either one of the teams on the field. But yes, I mean, obviously, I think this is for this. I think that's the biggest threat to football on all levels is the concussions. There was a case last year, more than one, where someone with a serious concussion either stayed in the game or went back in the game, and the head coach said, hey, I wasn't even aware of it. So not only is this good, I wonder about the implementation, but I'd like to see it on high school level as well. I think we need to be very, very careful about injured players, concussed players getting back on the field.
All right, the last one up there, if I can read it from afar, what do we got here? No more transfers with serious misconduct issues. Basically, I'm taking this one because I pushed for this on MrSEC.com. I pushed for this when I was on CSS. I have always been a firm believer that if a school in the SEC dismisses a player for disciplinary reasons, in other words, doing the right thing, they shouldn't have to turn around and face that same player on the field when he transfers to an SEC school. That's not how far they went this time. What they've done is they've decided that no SEC teams will accept transfers from players who have who were dismissed from their last school due to serious misconduct, including sexual assault, domestic violence, sexual violence. There's nothing in there about assault and battery. I would take it a step further. It's a good first step. I would take it further. There are plenty of other schools outside the conference that an SEC kid, if he gets in trouble, could transfer to. I don't like the idea if a Tennessee dismisses somebody, he could pop up at Alabama and beat Tennessee. Or if Georgia, and that's who pushed for this, if Georgia dismissed a kid, and they do that often, if they dismissed a kid, they shouldn't have to face him at Florida or Auburn or anywhere else. But I like it as a good first step. When we come back, Tennessee, we've already talked about money. They're making more money. So how long are we going to hear about the reserve fund being at $2 to $4 million? When does it start to grow? We'll talk about that when we come back.
Follow the Sports Source online at sportsource.tv and on Twitter at SportsSourceTV.